Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take apart a carburetor, put another one back on. It only takes 10 minutes. LA 145 John Deere. There are shortcuts, okay? People don't understand, there's shortcuts. Let me turn on my torch here. There's shortcuts when you're doing this shit. So, obviously, the first two things that came off isn't what you see here. It's this right here. Alright, so look. You take the latch off right here. It just connects to this little hole right here in the front. You just wiggle it up and you take the hood off. Boom. Right? Then you take this piece of case and you unscrew it, but leave the screws in. Why I had screws everywhere? Leave the screws in. Boom. You leave that right there. That's step 2. Then step 3 is taking this off. Right? Where are the screws for here? They are right here. Right where they belong. Because all it does is slip in there and then you tighten them. So leave all those screws there. Make your job faster. You don't have to take out 6 screws. All right. This wire here that connects to the solenoid. Once you can see the carburetor and the gas out, the choke on this side of the carburetor, you can see there's a wire that goes here. It goes onto that little solenoid. Well, this wire wasn't fitting with the new carburetor, so I just looked at it and I said, okay, let's just move it around this way. Okay? And then I disconnected the ground, which was here, and I moved it. So I can use it for the new carburetor because that one's longer, right? This one is smaller, but this one turns. This is the original brakes. Now, this video is named Carburetor Replacement in 10 Minutes. I'm my cameraman as well, so I'm not going to be able to replace it in 10 minutes with the camera, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try and put the camera somewhere so you guys can see it's not as hard as people say. Adjusting it might be. Sometimes adjusting it can be an issue, so be careful with that. This one only has one here, and then it has one in the inside of the carburetor, but it's not working. So we're going to switch it out. That's your fuel line. You just slide that off of there. Fuel line gets slidden off of there. Boom. You just bend it back. You don't have to worry about moving shit all over the place. People make it harder than it needs to be. The choke right here, which is right here, as you can see, the choke cable. Okay, I brought it back in and just let it sit right here. Technically, you'll see if you're taking apart your LA 145 how this works. It goes in here. Boom. And then screw it to the bottom, and then when you pull this moves it, bop, 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 right? So just move the choke out of the way. No need to have it in your way. And then you take these screws off. I already started these screws early. Look, once you open these, they're so easy. Let's see here. Hold on a second. Excuse my leg. Once you open these here, they're so easy to take out. You know, by hand. With 2 hands. Alright, so, boom. You take these screws out, not a big deal. And then when you take them out, you're going to see this little tube here in the back. Connects to your air filter. I already loosened that up a little bit so it's not in, but that goes in and out. Basic stuff, right? Basic stuff. You can watch, as you're taking it apart, you'll see it's not as hard as you would think to take it apart. You know, the gas, the throttle here, they tell you to take the throttle off. I don't even bother. Why do I need to take the throttle off? The only thing I take off is this little pin that connects the throttle to the throttle of the carburetor. Boom. And when I take these 4 off, it all turns and I can just pop it off. And then I get the new carburetor, the new filters, or the new gaskets, because this one doesn't have gaskets. Put gaskets on it. Boom, boom, boom. Can it be done in under 10 minutes? I've done it in about 10 minutes. So it can be done quickly if you don't make a mess leaving screws everywhere. Okay? And if you don't take unnecessary stuff off, like this gas one that doesn't need to be taken off. I have a choke and I have a gas, right? This one's for the gas. Doesn't need to be taken off. You just need to take off the carburetor and then twist this here at the bottom and get the carburetor off and leave this hanging on the carburetor, this part, but take it off down here. It's very simple. And then you put it right back together, and that's the way you do it in 10 minutes. Quick. step by step. If there's anything that you don't understand, you let me know. When it comes to taking it apart, here, okay, I'll explain this. I'm not going to do it on camera because I'm the cameraman. You see these screws here? They go through and they screw in on this side. And then there's a bolt on this side. So once you get this off, this, and this all comes off together. You are then going to take off the screws that are right back here. If you can see right there, there's 2, and then 2. That'll be the next thing you take off. Then once you take those off, this will come off. And you'll say, oh, what do I do now? Well, you actually turn this screw, and you'll see that the top front of it, the top part of it there, has a star. See that star? Put your channel locks on that and twist the screw softly. There's no need to be an animal about it. Twist it softly, you'll see it'll start unscrewing this. Alright? And then, once you twist it softly and this unscrews, this comes off, and you'll have the carburetor looking like that. Boom. Remember, when you're putting the carburetor back on, the gas side has to plug into the gas line. So it always is facing this way. Okay? That's the choke side, the gas side. And when you're looking at the carburetor, that's what controls it. I'm calling it the choke side and the gas side because this controls the flaps in here. This controls the choke, controls the flaps here by the air intake. Okay? So you put the gaskets back on, then the gasket on this one first, and then you put this on. Then you screw these 4 screws back into here. Then you take this one, you put it on, you grab the 4 bolts that are there and put them on. This is all in your hand or on a table or whatever, right? Then you put the gaskets on here. This is step by step. I'm literally going step by step. All right? Then you put the gaskets on here. You screw them in. See how there's no gaskets there? Air leaking because I loosened the screws right now. So it's loose. I'm taking it off. So you then put those gaskets on here. Get the thing screwed in. And before you put these on, connect this little thing back to the gas line. Back to the gas control. Connect that like with the carburetor, this carburetor sideways. So it would be like this. As you're putting it in, you put the hook into that and you pull this up a little bit. As you can see, it moves. You put the hook into it, or if you have to bend it a little bit to get it back in, whatever. Just get this back in first. Technically, if you don't, you could still just bend it like I did one time. I bent it and then bent it back. You could do that. But if you don't want to mess it up and you don't want to bend anything, you don't have to. Just put it in with the carburetor halfway this way and then turn the carburetor so it's facing the right way this way. And then put the gaskets on, put it on. Make sure that you have your choke the way it is, just like that. When you take this off, this piece doesn't have to come off. You just have to take the choke arm off here. And remember, it's always facing up. You take the choke arm off here, and then you take the carburetor off. So you will have 2 pieces hanging off when you take the carburetor off. This one and that one. I forgot to explain that about the choke, but you'll see how the choke works. And my suggestion is, remember, the choke is always facing like this, like a finger pointing at you on this LA 145, which means the other one would have to be put in the way it's put in that way. See? So that's a finger pointing away, finger pointing at you. One's sideways, one's pointing right at you on the choke. So that's all you have to do when it comes to taking it apart. And then when you're going to put it back on, put this back on. The choke you can put on at any time because this thing moves. But I would have the choke on the new carburetor. As before you put the new carburetor on, take this thing off and put and keep it on the new carburetor. Put it on the new carburetor. Make sure it's facing the right way. And then when you put this piece on, this black piece, make sure that you put the choke on. Boom. You put the choke on, this black piece with the gasket, and then the next step I was telling you about, After that was to screw them in, you get them all screwed in. Then you do the gasket here, screw that in there. Then once that's all screwed in, you can come right here. Don't forget to put your air hole back in, okay, to the filter area of the LA145. And then last one for me that I always do last, or at least right before last, is I put this one in. Boom. Oops, excuse me. Put this one in. Boom. So remember, finger facing that way, and then you tighten it back up the same way you found it. Same way you found it. So remember how you found it, and then you put this, you plug this in to where it needs to go on the solenoid of the gas of the carburetor, and then you, last but not least, take your gas line, put that in, and if you got new spark plugs, put in new spark plugs. Okay. It's very simple. Don't be scared of the carburetor. Just make sure that if it gives you some problems, you know how to adjust it. Alright, that's the 10-minute breakdown. Some fast little tips and tricks of how to not lose screws and how to not have to carry screws and put them somewhere over here. Look at this whole thing, and all I got is right here is my mess, and right there is my mess. That's it. I don't have anything else. And then I got my tools that I'm working with. So that's it. There's no mess. I don't lose screws. I don't lose anything. That's how you do it in 10 minutes. And this video has been 11 minutes, so I'm out. I got to get to work. I'm about to take this carburetor off too. Hey. You guys have a good day. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. Let me know.